Tanner Tech. Hello, this is Tanner Tech. And today I'm going to be showing you how to make a LiPo battery pack using old recycled laptop batteries. So, let's get started. So the first thing you need to know is I'm using a new camera right now because I finally got a laptop that I will be able to use to edit these videos. And so I'm using my SLR camera, which is one of those fancy kind with an extended lens. So my videos will now be higher quality. So how these LiPo batteries work is most of them are 3-celled, which means they have 3 separate LiPo batteries, but they're all linked in series to get them a higher voltage. So what we're going to have to do is wire them in series and then add one of these special LiPo connectors on it. Then now, LiPo batteries drain at different voltages. Now if you charged them all in series, this would work for a little while, but eventually it would break, and the LiPo batteries would be discharged at unequal rates, which wouldn't be good. So that's why something was invented called a balance charger, which uses a little plug like this. A balance charger charges each of the individual cells to the same voltage at different time periods. So it charges the first cell, then it charges the second cell, then it charges the third cell. This makes charging the batteries more efficient, and it makes them have a longer lifespan. So, let's get started on building this. I'll be using this LiPo battery pack for airplane that I'm going to be building soon. Let's get started. So I'm going to start with the circuit diagram for this LiPo charger. The output jack is what connects the airplane or whatever you're using with the batteries to the LiPos. Then I'm going to draw these wires. Then I'm going to draw a few LiPos in series. So here we have the top positive and negative of the LiPos. So let's start drawing them with the actual connector, which is this. This is the balance connector. So we have taps coming from each of the individual cells. So in total we have 4 wires going to the balance charger. So I'm going to draw these wires coming out, and then I'm going to draw them slightly smaller so that way they'll fit inside the circuit diagram design of the balance charger that I'm making. And so then these go into the balance charger box, which is the connector that goes to the actual charger. And then this is connected in this way, as you can see right here. So these little connector clips are on the bottom. So I'm just going to draw these 4 little squares because that's the top. And the 4 little connector, and the little tiny connector pins you see on the bottom of this are on the bottom of this little thing in the circuit diagram. I'm going to start by attaching these final cables, which are going on the connector, which are red and black for positive and negative. This is the connector that connects the battery pack to the plane. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some solder on these connections, and I'm going to solder these things on to my thick heavy gauge wire. Now after adding some heat shrink tubing to my wire to make sure it'll fit on this accurately, I can now take my soldering iron and completely solder joints in between the connector and my wires. After shrinking down, putting the heat shrink tubing on and soldering the wires, I can use my lighter to shrink the tubing and make a nice little heat on here. Now after you have your first connectors done, you can now tin the ends of the batteries with the soldering iron. So I'll hold my soldering iron here and put a little dot of solder on the end of each battery tip. Okay, so now after you have all the ends of your batteries tinned, you're going to want to put them all together. And because I want my batteries to be kind of small, I'm going to put them together in a triangular formation. Okay, so now after getting your batteries all hooked together, you can start soldering to get them in parallel. So see how these 2 batteries are negative on this end and positive here? I'm going to connect these 2 together with this little tiny piece of wire, and this will make it so that way these 2 batteries are in series. And then I'll do that with the other side too, so then those 2 batteries are in series. So I can now put some more solder on this wire to permanently connect all the batteries in series, and now they should be connected pretty well. So now it's going to be time to attach all the connectors. Okay, so I'm going to attach the negative wire of my battery connector to the negative pin on the battery that hasn't yet been connected to another pin on the battery. So this is the one. Now I'll connect the other side to the positive right here. Okay, so after you have the main connector all hooked up, you can now take some electrical tape and put it on here as to secure the wire, so that way this wire will be securely in place. Okay, so you can start by taking the clip, and you can see the plus sign on this side. I figured this out from one of my other battery packs. That means this wire goes to the completely positive pole of the batteries. And on this side, the negative side, this wire goes to the completely negative pole on the batteries. And these two wires in between go to the two in between batteries. And so, as you can see on here, this one right here is going to be going to the completely negative pole. This one on here is the completely positive pole. And then the next battery in the series, which is right here, goes to the next one over. And then this one, this little pole right here, goes to the next one over on there. That's how you connect the balance connector. Okay, so now that you have your battery done, you can plug it into the balance charger by taking the connector and just sliding it in there. And then you can plug the balance charger into the wall, as you see here. And as you can see, it's starting to charge all three cells right now. So, now we'll have to leave this for about maybe 6 hours, 6 or 7 hours, and then all the batteries should be charged. So we'll come back once the batteries are charged, or hopefully charged. Now, as you can see, the battery, when I attach it to my multimeter after it was charged on the balance charger, you can see it's at the required voltage, which is 11.75 volts. This is a little under the voltage it needs to be, but it'll still work for any RC applications. So I'll take some electrical tape, and as you can see, I've already taped a lot of this end. I've taped this end with electrical tape to cover up the electrical contacts and to keep the balance charger in place. Now I'm just going to put some electrical tape on this end to keep these battery contacts from touching anything. So as you can now see, the battery is all done, and it looks pretty good. Now as you can see on my prototype RC plane, I have the battery in place. Now this plane doesn't have a wing yet, but all the electronics are functioning. As you can see, I just have that new battery that I made hooked up to it. Now I'm going to fire up the plane. As you can see, this battery functions very well, and it has enough amperage to give the 30 amp ESC and the 1000 kilovolt motor just the right amperage to work. So this battery overall works very well, and in my next Tenor Take video you'll be able to see this airplane flying. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.